Greetings from Khoobsurat, Surat. I am Geeta Modi and you are watching My Fair Lady. I have got this show for you because I want you to see all the wonderful women with startups in this amazing city. Well, I have always believed if a woman stands up for herself, by default she stands up for all women. My guest of today is a jewelry designer. Her brand Sphere has got her many an awards all over the country. And she is tirelessly working to give new and unique designs to her clients as well as to a lot of retailers. Let's hear about the amazing journey of Sonali Shah Seth. Welcome Sonali to this show. I'm so glad to have you here.
It's my honor. It's my pleasure.
And I've seen all your jewelry. It's such wonderful designs you've got, so unique. And of course, we want to know about your journey. So let's hear it all from the beginning.
Wow, yeah. I mean, so I'm born and brought up in Surat, but I shifted to Bombay to study jewelry design. I was actually a science student, but shifted to jewelry because my father was in diamonds. And then I was always a lover of art and design. So this just kind of fit together. And you know, we had a new college coming up where we had tutors from UK. So that was really exciting for me. And the journey actually began for me. I wasn't too sure about jewelry to begin with. But while I was in the last year of college, I won this national award. It's called the De Beers Award. And they gave me a scholarship to visit UK, France and Italy and meet the best of jewelry houses like Cartier, Boucheron, Chanel.
Wow.
And I got to see their workshops. I got to meet the designers. And that's when I realized this is what I want to do. I want to make a brand of my own and a brand from India. So, you know, I used to visit these places, the shopping malls or the airports, and we used to find these luxury brands, you know, all over the place. And I used to wonder why isn't there any brand from India, you know, amongst them.
True.
So, and then, you know, I'm also a student of history and psychology. So I always thought that Maharajas and all used to commission pieces to these people. But we never had our own, a brand. So that just took me off. And when I came back, I said, this is what I want to do. But of course, life had its own plan. I got married. I came back to Surat. And then to begin with, I just started teaching because I had all this knowledge. I had done gemology from GIA, USA, and then, you know, many other courses in jewelry design. So I had all this knowledge and I just wanted to share. So I started with that. And then within a year, I think people just started approaching that, you know, why don't you design this for me or this for me? I used to get it done from Karigars, but then I did not like their finishing. So I started my own workshop. And then the journey began. Then my brother joined and we set up Sphere, which is a store. And now it's been like, I think it started in 2004. It's been quite a journey. 17 years, and won many awards, national, international. But of course, you know, there had been challenges and we are going, you know, towards the next step now.
So can you share what is your next step?
I'm at the cusp of it. You know, I've been approached by a very big, chain stores, like a national level company, to head their design department.
Oh, great.
So it was something that I've been, contemplating whether I should go ahead with my, stuff that I've been doing for a while just for a while, just change and do something which is on a very grand scale. So they're giving me a very good opportunity, but something that I cannot disclose further now because it's not on the papers. But yeah, so that is something now I'm excited about.
But you could always, if your work is so old and your brother is there to take care of it.
He's taking care of the Sphere store. It's not closing now. It's just that I'm going to do something more, you know, which is different and exciting for me. And then we had to come to a mutual agreement. So
so great. So when you think about this type of designing, are you online also, or are you only selling on to customers?
We do. So, you know, we do have a website, but to be very honest, we all our jewelry is 50,000 and above, and to just sell it off on internet is difficult. And we did not even try because you know, I always wanted that personal touch with the clients. And lately, I think after demonetization, what we also started is supplying to jewelers. So a lot of these really huge jewelry,
retail outlets
are our clients. And you know, with them, but it is all white label. They would not sell it as your jewelry. They
Yeah,
sell it as
in their
theirs.
name.
So that is where I found a lack of that kind of culture in India to appreciate the designer's work as probably in fashion
Of course.
industry.
Yeah.
So that was a struggle, but that's the reason I wanted to explore this opportunity also. I think that the whole amalgamation of like online was not possible at that time, but now
with the times changing,
the times are
yes.
changing. So I did a pilot project in when Rakhi during COVID, when
Yes.
Rakhi came.
Okay.
I made silver Rakhis. I went from gold and diamonds to silver, and then could bring the price points down and offered something unique. And we sold almost 300 Rakhis, which was the first time I ever even tried doing anything without any ads, and just by word of mouth, by making a catalog. And we had orders from UK, US and Australia, and
Wow.
it was a nightmare because that during COVID the shipments weren't going
Not
well.
happening.
But yeah, it was wonderful, and so I'm encouraged that of course we could do much more.
Yes,
in
much
future.
more. So what inspires you, like when you are trying to sit and design something? Either if it's for a client, I can understand that you maybe meet the client and you know what that persona is.
Yeah.
But if you have to just make designs and keep them so that you have some things to show.
Yes, it's a very interesting question, and always it's a dilemma for a designer to keep coming with new ideas.
New ideas.
So I think most of us artists and designers and creative people, I think a little creativity is in all of us, but we are just some people who are more inclined towards that. I think we imbibe our surroundings, what nature obviously
course,
is like
always,
the
yes.
biggest inspiration. For me and most of us, I think, but also everyday experiences. At times I may be angry, I may be going through a lot of emotions, and that also could come out
as a design. Okay.
So I'll tell you, like, I was a very die-hard romantic person, and most of my jewelry would have bows and flowers and stuff.
Right.
And there was this period in my life where I was like, I will show them what I have to do. And so my designs were like very edgy,
aggressive
and pointed, and so you could see that
the emotions in the
so
pieces.
that's how it is, and with the client, as you really mentioned very well, that I have to see what the client wants. There is a little bit of me, but it is more 80% is what a client would want, and what is the occasion,
what would
is
suit
the purpose,
them also
what's the budget.
Yeah.
So there we are little grounded there.
Yeah.
But when I'm making my own collections, I don't even look at the parameters. Like as a diamond jewelry designer, you have to see that you have to put a certain amount of diamonds and all. But I don't do. I defy that. I just go there. There are design collections that I've done which have very little diamonds and more of gold and more of color, enamel stuff. Also, I specialize in enameling. So those are some technical things that I have explored in my journey.
So, which has been your proudest moment? Like you say, you got lots of awards.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us some of the awards, and which has been really
at
proud?
19 was definitely the,
of course, one of the
but
biggest.
I think lately I had joined IIM Ahmedabad. I did a luxury management course there. It was like a 5-month program. It was a very intensive program, and there they selected my project as the best project. And you may have heard of Van Cleef & Arpels.
Of course, of course.
Their fourth generation was there to see the stuff, and he applauded and he said, I'm so surprised that no one has discovered you. And he's still helping me with the, like he would be there to help me take my brand forward.
Wow.
So that was really nice.
That is so great. Yes, but I think when people see something in someone, anyways, people will just rush to that.
So what he said was that generally from India we expect those traditional designs, Jadao and this, and I have a little European touch to all my designs.
Yes.
So my designs are an amalgamation of Indian and Western, and that's what he loved. And he said, like people can make big necklaces, but if you go to Europe, if you want to make your brand international, you need to have smaller products but very unique ones. And that's what I see in you, and that's what he wants, that we should get this brand going international. And
now in India people wear all types of clothes, so I'm sure even at weddings they are wearing Western outfits.
And now with COVID, no one wants to wear those big things,
Huge things, true,
we
true.
already are having those, chic pieces which are more wearable.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you focus a lot on everyday wear jewelry or something like that, or you have a different line for
No,
it?
I have 3 lines. So one is that everyday wear, which is more of less customization. It's already there.
Yeah.
Then we have these collections. So I design, like, say, suppose I'm doing something on roses, then I would have 20, 30 pieces on that. But when you come to me, you're looking for something like that, but you have your own ideas. So we customize that. So that is a little higher range. And then we have the bridal. So that is obviously no limit stuff. So I have done pretty much. I've done. You may not know, but there's this Jain temple. It is a 500-year-old temple, Chintamani ji, and there the crown of the Lord, or even their ornaments, like there are like some 300, 400 carats of diamonds, 2 kgs of gold. So we've done that kind of work also.
Wow.
Yeah.
So have you like sort of written a story behind each of your pieces?
Always.
Yeah,
always.
you do
There's
write a story.
Always a write-up. And that's what, when the editors approach me for magazines and all, especially the trade magazines, they love it because, they say that, oh, you've thought of so deeply about something.
Right.
Even like the collection like foliage, then it is about the walk in the woods and how. And there was this recent collection that I should mention. I'm not even put it out. Yeah.
Okay.
It is based on an English summer. So I've written the entire setting that, a table is lined up with a damask laced cloth, and there are porcelain teacups, and you're having a tea, and you're just lazing out. There's nothing to hurry about, it's a lazed afternoon. So I've mentioned that entire thing, and that is what the collection is about. So she really liked it, one of the editors, and she's like, wow.
So you just go back and do that.
Yeah.
You can just make the picture, sort of. So this is really amazing. And when you think about such type of ideas, and such does it like come suddenly in the middle of the night, or does it come any time, or you actually sit?
It could be that for months I don't get ideas, or mostly for days. I wouldn't say months, but suddenly I'm getting like a rush of ideas, and I have to sketch them, or I have to at least make a note. Mostly I think travels and reading and just kind of being aware of what's happening around you.
So even if you're like, what motivates you? Like you got up in the morning and you're feeling lousy and you don't feel like getting up and you don't feel like moving out. So is there something that really motivates?
I have always been guilty of ambition. Always. As a child, I'd been a ranker throughout my school life, and I always thought कि कुछ तो करके जाना है, मतलब I just don't
leave your mark.
Leave your mark. And so that is what drives me कि how like that mediocrity. I don't want to look down. There is no certain definition of perfectionism or mediocrity. ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. But मेरे हिसाब से कि मैंने आज अपना best नहीं दिया, then it is not good enough for me. So I would like to push the limit. So that is what drives me. That no, I need to do. This is not enough. This is not enough. It's never enough for me. So
I feel if I don't do something, I feel I wasted a day.
Exactly.
Right?
If I get up at 6, I wasted a day.
I wasted a day. Yeah, that is what
it is.
So that's what even I feel.
Yeah.
Great. So where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Whatever I do, but I see myself happy.
You see yourself happy. That is so. I think we are doing everything to remain happy.
I mean, at the end of the day, you want to feel happy of what you've done,
and
as a mother, as a designer. There are many things, there are many duties or many labels that I have not lived up to my life, but being a mother and being a designer are two things that I do want to live up to my standards.
We wear so many hats.
So I'm not the great at any of the others, but these two I can safely sleep that no, I've done my best, whatever I could do.
Great. So this was wonderful. We are going to come to this section where we call like a rapid fire, fast track sort of questions, simple things like, So I feel these fun things should be there in our lives so that, you can just have fun. Can you share an incident where you felt that I should just give up everything?
Yeah.
You have?
Of course, it has been recently. My mother-in-law is,
very ill.
Yeah, it was like life में करना क्या है, you just at one point you're just going to pass, you know. Or she was in my hand a moment and the next moment she was not there. It was shocking and it was life changing.
I know.
So yeah,
really
I just and just before that I was actually planning my company, and I had actually put all my savings into it, and just on the verge of starting it, and then this happens and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I just don't want to do it. I almost gave up for those 10-15 days. I did not think about work at all. But then you say कि अच्छा नहीं करोगे तो भी क्या कर लोगे? You know, नहीं करके भी what are you going to get?
How is it going to help her also?
Yeah, anybody for her.
So if you had not been an entrepreneur, what would you have been? Just a housewife?
I would never have been a housewife. I'm sorry to, with all respect to all the housewives.
Yes, of course.
My mother is a housewife. Like, no, I would have, you know, I mean, something creative. I would have been an artist or a designer. I mean,
or
just a painter or someone.
Okay,
if not a business person.
Yeah,
or a teacher.
Okay. And if somebody wrote a biography on you, what would they call it?
You know, maybe had been true to herself or something like that. True to your being.
True to your being. Okay, great. So, what do you have on your phone wallpaper?
Nothing. I'm too laid back.
You don't like any of your designs also to come on that?
I'm too much of a Steve Jobs fan. So whatever is there on the screen is good for me.
It's good for you. Yeah. You don't even want to put your design.
No. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't even wear too much of my designs. I'm good to go with something that I've been wearing for ages. Okay. So yeah, I'm too much of a designer and too absorbed in my work to actually
think about too much okay. So, and if you have to describe yourself in a few words, what would you say?
Extremely passionate, idealistic, to the point of getting into trouble.
Okay.
And eternally optimistic.
Okay. So you know that things are going to happen.
Yeah. Complete faith in God. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या हो जाएगा? मर जाएंगे तो भी heaven में ही जाना है.
हाँ. हमने कुछ बुरा तो किया नहीं है. Hell में क्यों जाएंगे? We don't know anything about hell. Great. So now you get to ask me a question for some Gita Gyan.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, you know, I mean, people like you are some, some personalities that we look up to. And looking at my own journey, I always think that these people who have crossed all those barriers, how have they done? So what has been one of the most challenging situations in your life that you really came out winning?
Yeah. So I think when we started, or rather when I started off on my journey, there were very few women in the working
of course,
thing.
I can imagine.
And in fact, in Surat, I think if you called somebody an entrepreneur, I don't think there was anyone, you know, at that point of time. And I was here running a hotel. It was a completely man's world, and you know, like a thing. So all those things put together were dealing with certain male egos, so that happens, and that happens sometimes even with my staff who are males who couldn't take orders from females, because that was many years back. I mean, this was a journey when I'm talking about, say, about, you know, another 20 years back or 25 years back, and in a small town. So, you know, it was much more orthodox. Openly, behind doors, what unorthodox could be there, but in front, everything was very orthodox. So that was one challenge I faced, where, you know, I have to be very sweet to everybody, very good to everybody, not spoil relations, but at the same time, you know, diplomatic and hold my own. Otherwise, if I don't hold my own, then it's very easy to just slip, and, you know, people can easily get the chance to pull you down. So that was something which was challenging, but it was fun at the same time, because every time I got home, and then I realized that, you know, people are just going to be people, men are going to be men, women are going to be women, and everybody has their own agenda, and I am nobody to refute that. I'd rather just have
acceptance of people and the situation.
And just make me the best version of myself, you know, rather than anything else.
So then in that journey, who has like been your biggest pillar of support?
I think my daughter, even though when she was very small, she was always there, tiny little thing. Wherever I went, she was always sitting in one corner. Now, anytime she reminds me, she says, now mom, after the age of 60, 65, you're going to come and sit in one corner wherever I go. I said, nothing doing.
Oh, wow.
But she was always there with me, and I think just looking at her, you just forget everything and you want to do everything else and make it work.
I think
because
you being a mother gave you that strength.
It gives that strength, yes.
And you said that at that time not many people were doing it.
They weren't.
So how come you thought differently? Were you looking up to somebody? What was your point of reference? Or you just could not be like them?
The first thing it all started was because of need, because of necessity. I was separated from my life partner. And after that it was me, and I had to fight it out. It was like either sail or sink, and I think I've never thought about sinking. That was never I've never been that type of a person. I've always been very positive, very optimistic, do things, get things done, everything, even in the house. For everything there was a discipline, for everything there was a time, for everything it had to be done in this particular way, and very organized in my house and everything. So I think all that just came out in a big rush when I started working. And I did learn the hard way, so I think I wasted a couple of years. Not couple, I mean almost half a decade I must have wasted. Yes, so I think that's what I wrote in my book, which I have come out with. It's on Amazon. And those are the points I feel if people know from the beginning, maybe they would not make those mistakes, and they will save a few years of their life and move ahead. So first it was because of need, and then it was because I enjoyed doing it, and I realized I'm good at it, and I realized I can do it, and I can do it better than most people.
I got married in 2003, and even then I used to hear your name, and that I thought it was some gym that you were running.
Yeah, it was, and I became a Reebok certified fitness trainer at the age of 45.
Yes,
so that was quite some feat at that time, because learning all over again.
And fitness was never even a word at that time when you were
when we got into it. Yes.
That was
so this journey was
thank you that being such role models. I think when society looks up to people like you, they have a reference point that life could be this way. It doesn't have to be always that stereotype, because many women, or even men for that matter, settle. And when they see people who have not settled and taken the courage to go to the next step, I think that really pushes the society in a more, in a better place.
Better, in a positive way, yes. Thank you so much, my dear. So now we want to hear your mantra of life.
My mantra, I think every experience, good or bad, teaches you. And you learn and you grow. And keep growing, keep learning.
Awesome. Never say no. It has been lovely talking to you, Sonali. What a wonderful journey you've had, and I wish you all the very best for all what you have dreamt for. Yes, and I'm sure you're going to do great. You're going to come up with wonderful things and make the city proud, your family proud, and your child proud.
Thank you.
Thank you for sparing time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we met Sonali. I hope you enjoyed listening about her journey. I loved it. Do put your comments down below and do subscribe to this channel. I'm going to catch you again with another episode of another inspiring journey of another startup. Till then, be fit, stay healthy, and remain awesome.